In today's video, I want to talk about living in New York City. I've been here about 6 months and I've gathered a little list of pros and cons to living in NYC. So if it's always been a dream of yours to move here, if you're going to move here, or if you're just coming to visit, here are some things that I think you should know, the good, the bad, and the ugly about New York City. So I have a little list here, and I'm going to talk about what I think about New York City. Okay, so I think the biggest pro to living in New York City is the opportunity. New York is the biggest city in the country. There is just an exorbitant amount of food and shopping and hobbies and people people with different interests and people. Everybody lives here. Everyone lives here, and any type of thing that you ever want to do, it's going to be here. Whatever kind of job you would ever want, any dream you have, you can pursue it here. The opportunity in New York City is, I don't think it rivals anywhere else. Maybe LA, if you know, maybe if you're in the YouTube community or if you're an actor, maybe LA makes more sense for you, but really anything that you want to do, it's here. And that's the coolest thing about it. It's, you know, where dreams are made. It's happening here in New York. But the downside to that is with all that opportunity comes a much higher cost of living. So I've lived in Pittsburgh for most of my life. I grew up outside of Pittsburgh and I went to Pitt. So I know Pittsburgh really well. Then I moved to Chicago for about 2 years, and then I lived in Nashville for about 1.5 years. So that's kind of like, you know, the cycle of where I've been. And New York City is double any place I've ever lived, if not triple, like Nashville and Pittsburgh prices. It's ridiculously expensive to live here. And that's not just the cost of an apartment, it's also the cost of food, the cost of toiletries, the cost of a drink out. You know, I remember in Pittsburgh I could get a $5 pitcher of beer. I don't know why that's like the first thing, like, oh, beer, it's so cheap. But you can't do that here. Maybe there's some places that, you know, like hole in the wall joints that I just haven't discovered yet, but most of the time it's just, there's such a markup on everything in New York because it's, you know, everybody's here. And yeah, I don't know. I don't love that though. I like a deal. I like a $5 pitcher of beer. Or, okay, listen to me. The cost of cheese in New York City drives me insane. Okay? It's like, it can be like $6 for a block of cheese where you drive 15 minutes outside of the city and it'll be $2.99. And I'm like, excuse me, how dare you upcharge my block of cheese? Rude. So that's something to consider. If you're, you know, if you're on a budget, it's tough to be in New York City. It's really tough. But you can make it work. But you just have to be aware that everything that you buy, everything that you do is going to be more expensive. So just keep that in mind. The opportunity is here, but you got to pay to play. So the next positive about New York City is you don't need a car. We have one here. We have my car, but frankly, we really don't need it. The only reason we kept it is because our family, my husband's family lives in Philadelphia, so we can easily just drive there. So it's been nice, like over the holidays and stuff, just to drive over and make it easy, save ourselves the price of a couple plane tickets. So we've kept the car, but you don't need a car. It's great. But let's be real here. The train commute, oh my God. It's not great. It's not my favorite, okay? And not that I'm against trains or anything. Like, I lived in Chicago for years, and I'm going to tell you something. Chicago trains are clean. Well, sometimes. I mean, there's always sneaky trains because it's, you know, you know, it's people. But New York City trains are disgusting. They're gross. They're gross. They're packed. They're infrequent. That's the thing that's been killing me about New York, is how infrequently trains come. Like there's different schedules for the weekends. It's like, I'm like, Chicago had this down. And I know I'm gonna get a lot of shit for this, for like New York City people, so I'm sorry, but this is just how I feel about it. I don't love your transportation system. I think it's really confusing. I think it just could be done a little bit more efficiently. Yeah, well, and maybe that's, you know what, let me give you this. Chicago burned to the ground and got to start over, okay? And New York City didn't get that opportunity. So, and good, because who wants a city to burn down? But because Chicago burned down and they could just remap the whole city in like square blocks, and it was so much easier to figure out how to get around here. I'm just like, oh my God. Ugh, it is a nightmare to figure out getting around New York City. I'm just, granted, it's only been 6 months, so I'm sure people that live here know it like the back of their hand. So I'm learning, and I'm gonna try to get better. Okay, another great thing about New York City is the easy, like, neighborhood amenities. So in our neighborhood here, we have, I think maybe 4 or 5 laundromats. We have, I think, 6 different grocery stores. On our block, we have 2 Dunkin' Donuts, 1 Starbucks, a CVS. We have a library right here. We have like 4 different sushi restaurants, a handful of pizza places, Mexican, Thai, a couple Thai places really. Anything that you could need is going to be in your neighborhood, and that's kind of nice. It's just convenient. You need, we have the post office right here. Everything is a 5-minute walk away, and you can just get all your errands done, get everything taken care of, and you're not like driving all over creation. You walk a lot here too because of that. Things are nearby, you get shit done. I just feel like in that way it's very efficient. You're always moving, you're always getting something done, because anytime you walk anywhere, just walking to the train, you're gonna pass all of your errands. So that's kind of nice, I like that. The downside to that, I think, is this kind of like then built-in like inclusiveness that kind of prohibits you from branching out a little bit. So since everything's right here outside of our front door, we found that like we're just like not venturing outside our little neighborhood as much, because everything's here. We don't need to. It's like, I don't need to go to another neighborhood because everything's right here. So I think that's an interesting mix of, it's really convenient, and that everything's right here, but it kind of keeps you nestled in your own neighborhood. And so we've been trying to like push back on that, and on weekends just go out somewhere new, check out a new neighborhood, go out to eat somewhere, and explore a neighborhood that isn't our own. So that's been fun. So let me take a sip. I'm so thirsty. I'm just like talking, I'm like, I'm sitting here and I'm like losing my breath. Maybe this hoodie, I'm just like, ugh. All right, you want to talk about something right now? This freaking hoodie, this little sweatshirt, it's Hanes. It cost me $2.99. $2.99. Thank you very much. You know where I got it? One of these like little bodega, like 99-cent stores. Yes, yes. $2.99. So that's a bonus. You can find really cheap stuff. So that's fun. Okay, what am I talking about? Okay. So, the other great thing about New York City is there is always something going on. There is a party happening somewhere. There is a festival happening somewhere. There is a cool museum, art show, music festival, concert. Something is always happening in New York City. So I think that's one of those things. Anytime you come to visit, you'll always find something to do. There's never a restless night here. So that's kind of cool if you're into that kind of thing. Personally, I am just fine hanging out at home and watching a movie or TV or reading. So that's one of those things. It's like kind of, I know I'm not experiencing New York in the same way a lot of other people who live here do, just because that's not in my nature. I'm kind of a homebody a little bit. But it's there, and that's kind of fun. So when my husband and I have those moments where we want to go out, we want to do something, we can do anything. And at any time, it's like, okay, it's 3 o'clock on a Sunday, something cool is going on. It's 9 p.m. on a Tuesday, something cool is going on. And that's kind of fun. And I like that about New York, is if you want to be on, somebody is on somewhere, okay? Something is happening. So I really do like that. The not so nice thing about that is, you know, it's a city that never sleeps. And when you leave your house, once you're out that front door, there is no more privacy. We've been outside at 4 a.m. on a Tuesday to, you know, get out of the city, drive and, you know, visit people for the holidays. 4 a.m. people, it's like everybody's still outside. Like there's still things happening. It's just like a weird thing. I remember just like going outside 4 in the morning, like, what are you doing? You vampires, sleep or something. Like, oh my God. It's just one of those things. I never thought it would affect me, but I didn't feel this way about Chicago at all. And in Nashville, it was one of those things you could hop in your car and go drive, and it's like even though you're in public, you still have this little bit of privacy, and you just don't get that here. You're gonna see just all sorts of different people anytime you leave your house. And for some people that might be that actually might be a positive. For me, it's a negative because I just feel like there's never a quiet moment outside. And I had that in Chicago. And maybe that was just because of the neighborhood that I was in, but I could go and walk to the lake and not see a soul. And I kind of loved that. Just like if I got up super early and I didn't have to see somebody and not just have to deal with like, oh, hi. Because I'm so, like, I don't know, maybe I smile too much, so like I end up in conversations with people. I don't know. But I like having that little bit of public privacy, like being in a public space, but just having that little bit of a like alone time, and you're just not going to find that here, unless you get a little farther out of the city, maybe. But what's happening outside? I don't know. Okay. The other cool thing about New York is the expressive freedom that you have here. There are all kinds of different people from all sorts of different backgrounds, all sorts of different ethnicities and gender and interests and experiences. And it's so cool to see that and see people not be afraid to express who they are. That's a big difference from living in Nashville. There just wasn't that kind of diversity. And here there's every kind of person you could ever imagine. And I love that about New York. I love being around like-minded people. I like being around people that love who they are, or at least feel comfortable expressing that. I think that's great. And it makes me happy to see people being honest. I like that. I think that's really great. I think so with that though, comes a little bit of an invisibility, or like a little bit of unfriendliness here, I've noticed, just a little bit. And it's not that I would say like, oh, New York City is not friendly. That's not what I'm saying. I think though that when you're allowed to express yourself however you want, or not allowed, I don't like that. When people do express themselves, like with their fashion, or I don't know, there are some looks that are happening on these streets, okay? And when you see that on a Tuesday afternoon, you kind of just zone out a little bit than to everybody else. It's like one of those things where there's so much going on, and there's so much noise in terms of like visually. There's just a million things to look at. There's sounds happening, there's lights happening, there's fashion and art and conversations and all sorts of different things that it's like your brain kind of tunes everything out and you're a lot more in your own bubble. That's what I've noticed. Like in Chicago or in Nashville, anytime I would walk around, I would talk to people. Like that was just something that always happened. And here, that's not going to happen, not just because of me, but because of everybody else too. It's like they're doing their thing. And maybe that's just like the city mindset too. But it was different even in Chicago, which I think is interesting. And obviously they're two different cities with two totally separate vibes. But I just think that's interesting that there's this little bit of a, you know, we're getting down to business and we're not fazed by whatever you're doing. So I think that ties in with the like creative expression because that plays into the noise. It's like everything is happening here. So much is going on that sometimes you just don't notice things. You're just going forward with what you're doing. And you know what? That could be good. It's just people are very efficient here. They're just getting things done. So that's not bad. It's just different. Okay, so the other cool thing about New York is the vibrant neighborhood culture. I love that about where we are right now. We're in a predominantly Greek neighborhood and it's so fun. I love it. There's great Greek restaurants, there's great Greek pastries. We live right next to an amazing Greek bakery, so sometimes we just go on down and grab ourselves a little galaktaborko. I tried. And it's really fun. And the art here reflects that. There's all sorts of murals with, you know, just Greek influences, Greek gods, and just, it's just cool. And I like when there's pride in a neighborhood, and I like when there's just like a feeling of community. And I think a lot of different places here have that, which is very nice. And I like that. Because in Nashville, it's not that. Chicago was totally like this though too. I liked going to the, you know, go to Chinatown and get some awesome dim sum and then hopping over to the Argyle stop and getting some pho after I was hungover. Good times. Like that's what I want. It's like, I want to know where to go to get like something that's authentic and experience it in their community. That's what I'm into. So love that about New York. Okay. But, so with that being said, what the heck? Things are happening. Okay, so I think probably the coolest thing about living in New York City is just like saying that. Just being like, I live in New York City. Like, okay, like you're living the dream. I remember as a kid, like having these ideas, you know, of moving to the city, and that was what I was going to do. Like, it's so many people's dream to live here that when you do, you know, when you go downtown at night and you see all the lights, you're like, wow, I live here. That is so cool. It's the coolest thing, especially because you're living the dream for yourself. But you also know that so many people work so hard to get to move here, and that's kind of wonderful too. And you know, I think about like we're not just surviving here, we're thriving here, and that's a testament to us. It's like if we can make it here, we can make it anywhere. That's what they say. That was so f***ing douchey. I hate myself sometimes. Lord have mercy. Oh my God. Oh, jeez. Okay, well, you know, I try my best. That was so goofy. Sometimes I hate myself. Anyway, but you know, do you know what I'm saying? It's just, I don't know, it's cool. I think it's really cool to live here. At least just to say, we've done it. I'm getting so off topic. Just make sure that you live your dream and don't get too caught up in this idea of like living in New York City. If that's what you really want, go make it happen. But if you want to live in a fun, cool neighborhood with a lot going on, New York City is not the only option. There's a ton of amazing cities. And as I've been traveling around to different ones and living in different ones, that just seems more and more true. New York is wonderful for certain people and might be the only option for many of them. But it's probably not for me in the long term, but I am so grateful to be here right now, and I'm so grateful to be able to experience it and explore it. And yeah, I'm so thankful that people are so welcoming. So that's kind of like my pro con of New York City. I'd love to hear what you guys think, if you've lived here, if you do live here, or if you visited here, things that you've found to be true about New York, or experiences that you've had. I'd love to hear all about it. Also, okay, if you have any suggestions of things that I have to do while I'm here, please let me know below. Like, I've just been like getting a huge list of things that like we just have to do, and every weekend we're like trying to knock some out of the way. So let me know if there's something that you've done in New York City, or somewhere that you've eaten or had a drink. Let me know, because I want to do it, and maybe I'll film it and share it. So yeah, let's share some things about New York. So if you liked this video, please subscribe, and I look forward to seeing you next time. That was so creepy.